Hey team, welcome to MLB Monthly, where we gather all the MLB news and stories for the month. We'll be doing October of 2025 this time. Don't forget to subscribe for more MLB every month. Also, I'll be doing some general discussion about baseball, including talking about free agent acquisitions and trade acquisitions also. We're going to go by division, and we're going to start with the American League West. So the Angels are hiring former catcher Kurt Suzuki as manager. He played for 16 seasons and spent the last 3 as a special assistant to Angels GM Perry Managian. Very interesting note about this deal is that it's only 1 year long. Ron Washington will not be returning to manage, not because of health reasons, but because of the team's performance, which I think is kind of dumb, considering the team is in rebuild mode, which I personally think Ron Washington has done a pretty excellent job of helping with. Ray Montgomery won't be returning either, and other candidates the Angels were looking at were Torrey Hunter and Albert Pujols. In other Angels news, starting pitcher Yusei Kikuchi said in an interview that he asked the Angels to fix the AC after his final start where he left the game early due to cramping, because they never fixed the AC all season, which is crazy because it's summer basically all year in Anaheim. Also, on October 22nd, on the Angels website, a position was opened for a part-time HVAC technician literally hours after Perry Managian said the AC was fine despite Kikuchi saying otherwise. If you don't like that, you don't like Angels baseball. The Texas Rangers and former Cardinals outfielder and contributor to the Rangers losing the World Series in 2011, Skip Schumacher, have agreed to terms for him to become the next manager for the Rangers. Previous manager Bruce Bochy and the Rangers mutually agreed to part ways. However, the Rangers extended him an offer to remain in a front office role, to which he is still pending a decision. Cleveland Guardians catcher Austin Hedges resigns with the team on a 1-year, $4 million deal. While he is a backup catcher, he is excellent defensively, and defensive consistency on a baseball team is very important. Minnesota Twins announced in late September that Rocco Baldelli will not return as manager, despite him doing about as good a job as he possibly could under whatever the hell that ownership is. Twins look to fill the vacancy with potential hires being Torrey Hunter, Justin Morneau, and Nick Punto, and eventually hired Derek Shelton as their next new manager per John Heyman. Derek Shelton was a bench coach for 2 seasons with the Twins, one of those seasons under Rocco Baldelli, and he managed the last 5 seasons with the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Tampa Bay Rays finalized the sale of the team to an ownership group led by a business guy named Patrick Zalupski, which hopefully will lead to a new philosophy for the team where they maybe attempt to try and sign a big name free agent with big money. Perhaps Pete Alonso. Also, the happiest man in baseball, Brett Phillips, has announced his retirement on Instagram, and it's one of the most wholesome messages you'll ever see. He wrote the names of a bunch of people on a whiteboard by hand and thank them and others. I'll link the retirement video in the description below so you can see for yourself. He said he's looking toward working in a baseball role in some sort of capacity. Best of luck to him in that regard. I hope he gets something with the team. And in his words, baseball is fun. Yankees first baseman Cody Bellinger opted out of his contract to test the waters of free agency, which could see him at the minimum get a multi-year deal, maybe even with the Yankees, if they're willing to pay. Which they should, because they do need defense. The Yankees committed the 7th most errors, and also their pitching staff gave up the 6th most walks in the entire league. Defense is an absolute must for them to limit damage from opposing runners already on base. Yankees issued health updates, starting with Anthony Volpe getting shoulder surgery in the offseason and is not expected to be ready for opening day. Aaron Judge won't require surgery for his elbow. Pitcher Carlos Rodon had his bone spurs removed this month, and his current timeline is that he will potentially miss the first couple weeks of the 2026 season. Also, they said about Garrett Cole that he will likely not be ready for opening day 2026, but he might be ready a month or 2 after that. Red Sox third baseman Alex Bregman opted out of his contract, but just like Cody Bellinger, could return to the team on a better contract. Also worth mentioning that Trevor Story can also opt out of his contract, but it seems likely he'll opt in, although it's better to be optimistically cautious here if you're the Red Sox. Baltimore Orioles and Craig Albernaz have come to an agreement to make him the team's next manager, per Jeff Passan. He was an associate manager with the Cleveland Guardians who made that miraculous comeback last season to make the playoffs, so nice pickup for the Orioles. Moving on to the National League, starting with the National League West, the Padres manager Mike Shildt surprises the baseball world by retiring from managing due to the mental, physical, and emotional toll it took on him, stating that it's time he took care of himself and exit on his own terms. He managed the Padres for 2 seasons and took them to the playoffs and won 90 or more games each year. And fun fact, the Padres were the only team in the 2024 playoffs to push the World Series winning Dodgers to an elimination game in the entire postseason, all under Mike Shildt. So as of recording this video, the Padres are currently searching for a new manager, with Albert Pujols, Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla, former Padres catcher Nick Hundley, and bench coach Brian Esposito as candidates. In other Padres news, Xander Bogaerts and Jose Iglesias are both facing discipline by the league for their conduct toward umpires in the do-or-die Game 3 of the wild card against the Cubs for an obviously blown call that should have been ball 4. Bogaerts is only getting a fine, while Iglesias is getting a 1-game suspension on top of that, which will be tentatively served at the start of the 2026 season. Martin Maldonado is retiring from baseball after 15 major league seasons. He was an excellent defensive catcher behind the plate, won a Gold Glove with the Angels in 2017, and holds a World Series championship ring as part of the 2022 Houston Astros. Giants manager Bob Melvin was relieved of his duties by Buster Posey, stating that in the last couple months of the season, the Giants did not perform up to their standards. Bob Melvin ends his tenure as Giants skipper at 161 wins, 163 losses in 2 years of managing. Meanwhile, the Giants and Tony Vitello of Tennessee University have agreed on a deal for him to become the Giants' next manager, per Jeff Passan. It is the first time ever that a college coach will become a manager without any prior professional experience. Cardinals' Lars Nootbaar could start the season on the IL, which could have some implications on any trades that St. Louis might want to make. Atlanta Braves manager Brian Snitker informed the team that he will not be returning as manager, and both sides have agreed for him to remain with the team in a senior advisory capacity, per Jeff Passan, and they are currently still looking for a manager. The Washington Nationals have come to an agreement with Blake Butera, no relation to Drew Butera, to become the team's next manager. With this hiring, he'll become the youngest manager in more than 50 years, at only 33 years old, per Jeff Passan. Moving on to the miscellaneous section, where it's just general baseball news. The Giants of the NPB in Japan have posted Kazuma Okamoto, making him eligible to transfer to the MLB. He's a 29-year-old who can play first and third base, posting a lifetime 277 average and an 882 OPS in the NPB. Congrats to the Dodgers on signing him. Speaking of the Dodgers, they won the World Series in 2025 just a few days ago. Kershaw wins a title in his last baseball season as a major league player. What a perfect send-off. So congrats to them and to Kershaw. The comeback players of the year were announced, with Ronald Acuna Jr. for the National League coming off a torn ACL. And in the American League, Jacob deGrom coming off Tommy John surgery and pitching at 37 years old. Both posted amazing seasons despite having come off major injuries. Very, very incredible what they did, so very well deserved. Now moving on to key dates to look forward to. On November 6th, or the 5th day after the World Series, free agency begins. So mark your calendars, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard is when it starts. It's also the deadline for teams to make decisions on options, for clubs to reinstate all players on the 60-day IL, and for clubs to tender qualifying offers. November 10th is awards week, where awards like Rookie of the Year, MVP, Cy Young will be given throughout that week. November 21st is the tender deadline. By 12 p.m. Eastern Standard, teams must formally tender a contract to all unsigned players for the following season, including their arbitration-eligible players. If a player is non-tendered, he becomes a free agent. December 8th through 11th are the winter meetings, where the MLB Draft Lottery will be held, along with the Rule 5 Draft. The Rule 5 Draft, if in case you're unfamiliar, is a safeguard intended to prevent teams from hoarding too many prospects. A team has to have 40 dudes at maximum on a roster, and if there's any prospects left over that don't fit on that 40-man, they go to the Rule 5 draft, where any team can draft them. It goes a little deeper than that, but that's just a quick rundown of the Rule 5 draft. January 15th is the start of the new international signing period, where players like Munetaka Murakami and Kazuma Okamoto from the NPB will be potentially signing with MLB teams. January 20th is when the Hall of Fame voting results come in, and we'll see who will be enshrined in Cooperstown. The second week of February is when spring training begins. As far as I know, there hasn't been an official date announced yet, probably because of the World Baseball Classic, which begins on the 5th of March. Game's going to be played in Tokyo, Puerto Rico, Houston, and Miami. So that's it for this month's MLB Monthly. If I missed anything, do let me know. I'm only one person. It's very hard to keep track of everything. Subscribe for more MLB Monthly. I also do baseball discussion videos. In this upcoming few weeks, we're going to see free agent acquisitions and some trades being made. So I'll be doing some videos on that if you're interested. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for coming. I'll see you at the game.